Every day, I meet young Indians who are navigating through one of the most important decisions in their life. Should I take that job abroad? Should I pursue my masters in India? Or should I go to Germany? Should I take that leap? And every time I have this conversation, it makes me realize while we have access to data, visa guidebooks, job postings, LinkedIn connections, but what we don't have of enough is wisdom. The kind of wisdom that comes from someone who actually has lived the global journey, not as a tourist, not as a business traveler, but lived in the foreign lands, building homes, decoding the cultural codes, facing crisis, and ultimately understood what it means to represent India while living abroad. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of PQ, People, Perspective and Places. My name is Dnyaneshwar Mulay. I'm the founder and CEO of Veltrix Connect and your host today. PQ is not about trade statistics and visa regulations. This is a conversation series about the human experiences going global. And to launch this series, I couldn't think of anyone more perfect than my guest today, Dr. Dnyaneshwar Mulay, a legend in Indian diplomacy. He joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1983 and served 35 years across the world, Tokyo, Maldives, New York, and many other countries, along with the corridors of the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. He is known as the Passport Man of India, the person who opened 410 passport offices and transformed the terrifying bureaucratic processes into something accessible to every Indian who wanted to see the world. Dr. Mulay is not just a diplomat. He is a published author of over 15 books. He is a poet. He is a scholar of comparative literature who studied Japanese and Marathi poetry. He is a founder of the Movement of Positivity, a social transformative initiative. He has established orphanages, libraries, and sports clubs in rural Maharashtra. And most importantly, for PQ, starting from our next episode, it will be my honor to have Dr. Mulay as my co host as we speak to ambassadors, diplomats, and global leaders. But today, it is just the two of us. Good afternoon, Dr. Mulay.
Thank you, Sudhanshu. I think what you seem to be doing is very, very interesting. And this very phrase, PQ, with people's perspectives and places, is very significant, particularly for a diplomat like me, because we think as diplomats, our job is really to fill in the dots or connect the dots rather. And therefore, without people, without perspectives, and without places, you cannot really connect the world. Typically, a diplomat is, what we call in India, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. He is the ambassador of this principle. And Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam essentially would mean that how do you really think about people, or how people think about other people, other things, and their perspective, therefore, are extremely important. And interestingly, all these people and perspectives invariably live in a particular environment, ecosystem. And that ecosystem often shapes the people as well as their perspective. And a job of a diplomat or somebody who wants to do business internationally would be typically connecting these three dots. The moment you connect these three dots, actually from there, the creativity emerges. That's broadly my own experience about my own life and the work I have done in different places, almost six different countries in almost five different continents or subcontinents.
Lovely. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And that is what I want to really talk about today. I want to understand the human journey, the moments that changed you, the wisdom you would share over a chai with a young person who is boarding his first flight to an international destination for the very first time. So let's begin with your journey, sir, in this way forward. One question, sir. When you first time traveled to the foreign land, if I remember correctly, Japan was your first
That's
posting.
right. That's right.
It wasn't as well known as it is today. Uh, how did you feel, sir? What was the
No,
emotions that you
before
went
that, I
through?
must tell you how I selected Japan as my destination.
Please.
In foreign ministry, we are given a choice that you can select, give options, three options, and then government will give you one.
Right.
And they will generally consider your first option.
Okay.
That is the Ministry of External Affairs. So I think invariably everyone had given France and Spain because Spanish and French as their main languages, and then somebody preferred Chinese, somebody preferred some other language. My first preference was Japan.
Okay.
Second was Germany. Because that time, this is I'm talking of 1983, and I was very curious about what I heard about Japan and Germany and how they had like phoenix birds come out of the destruction of the Second World War and built a new nation, a
Right.
modern nation, a progressive nation, a technologically driven nation. Even in 80s,
Right.
they were far ahead of us.
Absolutely.
So India, which was a donor to Japan in 1950s, by 58 it had become a recipient of Japanese aid to India.
Mhm.
So how a nation building process is taking shape or has taken shape? That is, I was very curious. That's why I gave Japan as my first preference and German as my second
Very nice.
preference. And obviously, when I went there, it was quite a shock, cultural shock. I had read a little bit about Japan before going, but no book can ever compensate the actual practical, experiences.
Mhm.
And therefore, it's like you cannot swim when you're not in the water.
Absolutely.
You cannot read a book, however eminently written by a very illustrious person about his or her swimming experience. By reading, you can't swim. So life is like that. So I learned Japanese language within no time. 6 months after 6 months, I participated in an international speech competition there and won an award also. But again, the curiosity and rebel in me, the gypsy in me, made me see the country. I traveled a lot on my own. Tried to, because language is no, cannot be really, you cannot be good in communication unless you live the linguistic experience in various situations, whether it is a train booking or talking to your co-passengers in a bus or on an aeroplane, or going to the market and asking what is the price, what is this called in Japanese. Experiences have to be lived. Then you learn very fast. But if you don't try to experience, then your knowledge remains bookish, and your outcome will always be very very, what should I say, below average it will be. So this is how I was very shocked, and I remembered my village, my parents very often. Sometimes I cried, alone in the room. We had a nice small house given by Government of India,
Right.
but I really cried after coming back from my school. I was studying language for a while there, so a number of times I cried because it was. But then when you cry, after a while your whole thing, you feel better. मतलब वो एक heartfelt cry भी होना चाहिए कभी जिंदगी में, because it is a pent up feelings that burst through tears. And so it is a mechanism that I think the body and the mind uses to temporarily set aside the stress that you have, or the feelings which are pent up that you have.
That's very beautiful, sir. And honestly, you have actually set the context for my future questions, which are coming. But
Sure.
very glad to see the way you talked about the vulnerability when one travels outside,
Sure.
irrespective of we coming from any background, irrespective of reading books, talking to people.
Sure.
That experience is unique for everyone, and one has to live to really understand that.
Right.
And thank you so much for sharing that with us. So you have served at various diverse places. Uh, Somewhere in that journey was a specific moment when you realized that diplomacy isn't really about treaties and agreement, but about human connections that make it possible. If I may call it a aha moment, because you have been a people's person and today also you're working so much on the ground with
Correct.
making sure the people life or you're still serving the country uh, in your individual capacity. So what was that aha moment for you between these 35 years of treaties and diplomacies and everything when you realized no, people is something which has to.
That's right. I think this particular thing comes uh, because of the very naive background from which I entered the service. I didn't have the experience of big cities. I didn't have the experience of being in a convent school. I didn't have the experience of being in a coaching class for UPSC. Nothing of that sort.
Mhm.
That being the case, you can quote unquote call me very. I was very ignorant about the whole thing. But as I said, I was curious about the world. I was gypsy. I was a bit of a rebel. So I always thought ki one needs to do something different. But this people connect is the key to everything came to me because of the fact that I was deeply connected to my village. The people in village, the whole village, eh, wherever you go, there are people known to you. They're asking questions with familiarity. And then the other second element is the reformers of Maharashtra, the saint reformers of Maharashtra and the social reformers of Maharashtra had a deep interest, deep impression on me, both in school as well as in college. And what if I have learned, I had learned something from them, which I try to practice even today, is that my ultimate responsibility as a government officer or as a citizen also is towards people.
Mm. Very nice.
And we were also very, well, those were the days, formative years, one was disturbed with the inequalities in society, the poverty in society. I was a little bit exposed to Mumbai towards my post graduation, and I saw the difference. On one side, you have the skyscrapers, and next, you have this huge, juggies,
Right.
slums. So it was what was quite disturbing. So what came to my rescue was these learnings that I had from the reformers of Maharashtra and the saint reformers of Maharashtra, because they were rebels against the established order, inequality, discrimination, and atrocities that are committed on those who are less privileged in society. So when I entered the foreign service, I just wondered, why am I here? How can I relate to what is going on around me?
Mm. Mm.
The fact that I am overseas, having a fairly comfortable, luxurious life, the fact that I'm working as a government representative of India abroad, and what I'm supposed to do in kind of, as you rightly said, treaties and agreements and MOUs with other countries. I realize that beyond all this, or behind all this, there are people
Right.
whose futures are connected with each other. So when I say that we had a trade agreement with XYZ country, I really see what are the benefits that are going to the people of that country and people of my country. That is how I think of a trade agreement. So the entire career I tried to therefore build rapport with people from all walks of life in those countries or that country, wherever I was posted. So, if you are connected with people, say if you are connected with businessmen there, it's easy to connect them with businessmen in India.
Mm-hmm.
If you are connected with academicians in that country, then it is easy to connect the academicians with your own country. If you are connected with government people there, then it's easier for me to connect them with government. Doesn't mean only Minister of External Affairs. It means all the ministries. The power ministry or the energy ministry in XYZ country, Japan, should be connected with the power ministry in India. Then they will discuss. So connecting people, connecting companies, and connecting countries. You know that is being the most important thing. So you can achieve things which are not possible through you know agreements and these conventions and covenants, etc., that we sign treaties through sheer contact with the people. They will drive then. Once you have built a kind of a on this I can tell you the example of Toyota in Japan. We did as an embassy, my ambassador entrusted me the job to connect with Toyota and try and bring them to India,
Okay.
and we succeeded.
Correct.
So it's but when you go to meet the CMD directly of Toyota, he's not going to give you any time appointment, because he is Toyota and you are still in India, which is developing or underdeveloped country. Right. From their perspective. So why should they give time? So you have to work on people at managerial level, general manager level, and directors level, and then ultimately reach out. It is some a few days work. So what I said about Toyota coming to India, it's also applicable to many other things that happened wherever I went. I'm always aware of my limitations because we work in a system. So building team, working closely with seniors, and working closely with juniors, because I think it's a responsibility of any officer that you also promote and empower your juniors. Right. So again, as I say, people connect doesn't mean only you connect with outside people, outside your organization. No, it's within your own organization capacities lie, which are often undetected, underutilized, or people have not realized their own potential also. So this is how people connect has come to be a very important factor of my own life journey. Right. And so what I hear uh, from the core is that you being connected to your roots all through. Yes. Has somewhere been an catalyst
The
in
seed.
this, the seed for this to be able to you to connect with other people is very important. Very true. And that's where it has built on. And so when we talk about people connection, language is not something which is which builds on it, right? And I know, so you're mastered about multiple languages. So correct me if I'm wrong. You know about eight odd languages. Yeah, I think with some very proficient and some not very proficient. And that's very extraordinary, sir. So very interesting, sir. Not proficient. Now, what I want to really know is, sir, is learning 20 words of a local language, basic greetings, thank you, how are you, where is this, and is more important than writing a 50-page proposal of in a business case study. For example, sir, and probably what would be interesting for the audience and for me to learn is if you can talk about some specific example where a broken language, whether you knew it or the person who you were meeting knew the broken language of Hindi or Marathi or any other, had really helped you to crack a difficult situation or build a personal relationship for that matter. So definitely, I think there are any number of such examples which I can quote. But since Japan was my first posting, and I think I'm quite proficient even now in the Japanese language, and I remember a lot more. The first posting overseas is like first love. Right. I always call it the first love. Because it's everything is fascinating. Absolutely. Trains arriving and departing on time, for example, new experience. People being polite all the times is a new experience. The discipline that you see out while people are queuing up, it's a lesson. So everything is kind of fascinating when you go there first. So language, I tell you that particularly in Japan, even if you say one expression, konnichiwa, which is really you know how are you, or have a good day, or o genki desu ka, how are you feeling today? So this can just break the ice straight away. Mhm. And if you ask the same question in English, it's not really the same. It is very different experience for a Japanese.
Mhm.
Japanese are helpful, and with English also, they with their broken English, they'll come to rescue. But whether it is in a bank, whether it is in a post office, whether it is in a sabji mandi, whenever I use Japanese, I had, I think, special treatment
Mhm.
by that, and then they were ready to do anything. Which normally Japanese are very very formal people,
Yes.
but the moment they know the language, then they'll go out of their way and do things for you.
And so, beyond vocabulary and grammar, every culture has the unspoken code.
Yes.
In Japan, sir, it is the bow. The depth of the bow speaks about a lot of unspoken uh, nuances. In the Maldives, it is the more about personal relationship that you build with the individual. If you look at New York, it is the 30 seconds elevator pitch. You speak whatever you have to speak in those 30 seconds. And so you have been in all these places and many more. From your experience, sir, let's say I am the first time going to any international destination. How do I decode these invisible rules without spending years? I understand that language does decode, but before that, these invisible codes is something which decodes. And if I can adapt that, then I'm one saving myself from an embarrassing situation.
Sure.
And so, how do we decode such?
Well, I think the world has come today and it's become such a place where information is abundant.
Mhm.
So for anything, earlier it was only books. When I
Right.
went for Japan or Russia, primarily it was books or knowledge which you could capture through somebody's wisdom through discussion.
Mhm.
These were actually only two ways. Third was, of course, travel. But travel is always very expensive.
Right.
It was expensive, it is expensive, and it will be expensive. So now you have multifarious experiences available to you prior to going.
Mhm.
For example, I know certain now recruitment companies in India, they are having this AI based coaching to the candidates
Right.
even before they go. So they can converse as if they are actually in Germany or in Japan or in Russia.
Mhm.
This is something very important, I think. The second is what we call pre-departure orientation,
Mhm.
which people must undergo. Minister of External Affairs has devised course for that also. But otherwise, also pre-departure training is not necessarily again a fixed training in a classroom. It is contacting people who have been in that country and just going and meeting them
Mm.
and take some simple, lessons for them. Then you have cultural modules available now on internet. Listening to them is very important. See, if you see our honorable prime minister when he goes abroad, he takes certain gifts. So to certain countries he will take Ramcharitmanas.
Right.
To certain countries he will take, maybe I'm just quoting this as an example, maybe a kind of a model of Taj Mahal.
Mhm.
So this depends on what is that is being cherished in that country. For example, even if you have Indian community in Mauritius, it's very different from the Indian community in Japan or USA.
Absolutely.
Composition is different. Language environment in Mauritius very different from what you have in Japan, Germany, or USA. It's an interesting combination of English, French, Creole. Added to that is Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu.
Telugu.
So, for any outsider, it's very difficult to understand. But then, people, if you have understanding that this is a combination of elements in that country, then you prepare better.
Mhm.
So, I would recommend reading. Certainly, one authentic book one should read. I recommend that some of these modules are available now on internet. One should see them. Third, I recommend that meet a person who has been there and stayed longer than 2 years,
Okay.
because he will give you a perspective which will make you cautious. Give certain precautions also you can take, and what are the things that with which you can really impress the person you are interacting with in that country. It could be your own superior, or it could be a ordinary man on the street to whom you want to ask some guidance on the road or address. You need to prepare. I think preparation is a must, and now the opportunities are many for
Absolutely.
preparations.
Absolutely. So, what's one skill which you wish every young Indian today who's moving abroad would develop to navigate the cultural codes before they leave?
I think curiosity and communication, the two C's, in my view, are very important. Curiosity is wanting to know what lies behind a particular thing. It's like a magic when you discover it,
Mhm.
and therefore one has to be curious about it. You don't take everything for granted, particularly in a new place.
Mhm.
Try to see how the trains work, how the buses work, how the road network is there, where is the nearest underground, or whatever it is. And this can happen when you walk on the street.
Mm.
It's very important. When you, with your colleagues, go on trekking,
Right.
experience what is not normal, understand a bit of history of that country as you go there. That's curiosity part. The other is, I said, communication. I think communication is very important anywhere,
Mhm.
because it's not easy. You can always cry, when you are outside. Because suddenly you don't know what will hit you, and suddenly you will feel यार माँ के हाथ का खाना जो है
Hmm.
याद आया, ऐसा लग रहा है पता नहीं मैं क्यों आया.
Right.
And this can, I'm not talking about this about the manual people who are going unskilled. This can happen to any human being. So you also need to learn to overcome your own feelings of loneliness, and therefore mental fitness is as important as your skill that you have. So this is how I really feel that you need to. It's like fortification also. It's not only about entering that society, which will be generally fortified for outsiders, and you have to break the walls, but it's also your own fortification through empowerment, building courage, building mental power, some tolerance also. So if you go to Western countries, you have to be tolerant to cold, and cold is something that is not really easy for most Indians. We are used to warm days most of the year.
Right.
So these are, I would say, very
May I
interesting.
put it as MC square, sir?
Yeah.
Mental strength and the two C's you talked
Correct.
about, curiosity and
That's
communication.
right. That's right.
Great, sir. I think this is something which is very valuable, and that's what we want to kind of bring out, because we don't see this in books usually,
True.
and we don't hear people talking about developing mental strength
Very,
to travel
very
abroad.
good. We also
We
only
just
see the placement letter, and we are imagining that I learned so much.
right. So the
No, I
preparation
think
you talked about is very important. So coming to now that we are talking about going abroad, and let me talk about your legacy, sir, which is uh, invaluable in its way, and you're known as the passport man of India. You simplified the systems used to terrify, and sir, I can tell you from my own experience. I have been in school when I applied for the passport, and I know the effort and the time it used to take. But what you did was you took the passport to the doorsteps of every individual
True.
who wants to, who dreams about going abroad or moving out of the country. But sir, at the same time, passport only opens borders.
Yes.
It is about an immigration saying, I am an Indian citizen, let me pass through. So that's the document.
Correct.
So when an Indian lands in Tokyo, Dubai, New York, Germany, with that blue passport in hand, what is that one thing that they need which no document can give them? And And I'll go beyond MC square, sir.
Uh-huh.
So, what is that one thing you think that the people should have with
I
them?
think what you said about passport is so true. It's document. It's one document which is actually, if you read it, it's very simple. It's not complicated document, but it empowers you tremendously.
Mhm.
Whether it is airport, seaport, or land port, you cannot enter without a passport in your hands. I call it a document of empowerment,
Mhm.
document that facilitates mobility, document that facilitates knowledge, journey of knowledge. So therefore, it's very important. But what is more important, which should give you confidence about this document, is that if you look at the first page, I'm not referring to your name and father's parents' names or other details, date of birth, etc. I'm referring to the assurance that is given to you as an Indian citizen by the President of India. You must have seen on every passport, the President of India is saying that this is Indian citizen, and wherever he moves, he may be allowed to freely. So
Mm.
this is the only document where President is directly supporting you. And what it means is the whole country is behind you.
Wow.
1.4 billion people are behind you.
Mhm.
Their capacities, their history, their culture, their heritage, their power as a nation entirely is with you. That is this feeling of confidence that it should give you. I think that's very important about this document. And this is not very well understood in my view.
Very true.
Because when you say चिट्ठी आई है गाना है ना,
Right.
वतन से चिट्ठी आई है, तो वतन की जो असली चिट्ठी है वो यही है, डॉक्यूमेंट है कि जिसको देख के आपके आंख में पानी आएगा विदेश में, उसको आप सबसे ज़्यादा प्यार से रखोगे. So it's your ultimate identity in a country, in a place where which is not truly yours, and where you have embarked on a journey. So that is, I think, I would say that sense of confidence that your country is behind you.
Right.
Family तो है ही है, but the whole country is behind you, and I think that feeling one should, with that feeling one should go. We have a long and powerful history.
Mhm.
We have many accomplishments even after independence.
Absolutely.
We know that's our real power, which is represented in this document.
So, sir, mental aptitude, curiosity,
Correct.
communication, and the confidence and the
Correct.
and
I
being
want
self-aware that I am being taken care
one
of in
one more
case of adversity.
one more, and I can assure you that Government of India, Minister of External Affairs is far more aware about the need to protect
Mhm.
Indians overseas, and they are there
Absolutely.
to support in every possible way, and they're doing. We're doing our best. So that's a very gratifying thing that my country is with me always. So I have to also, apart from doing my job properly, I should also make my country proud. वो भी एक होना चाहिए.
So, which means the passport is not the destination; it's just the beginning.
Yes.
It's in a way is what
Yes,
you are
yes.
also
It's
kind of
I call it a document of empowerment.
absolutely.
Simple, simply said, it's a documentation.
And realizing that is something which is very
Yes, correct.
So you're a poet and you're a language scholar as well. And I'm going to shift now focus from uh, people to a little bit more into the work that has happened over the years. Uh, so as a diplomat, you're trained with protocols, negotiations, and cultural programs, and to follow a particular pathway. I assume there's a guidebook which comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, without getting into specifications, I'm sure you have faced many challenges, crises, as you mentioned earlier. Also, there has been ups and downs, which happens. Intense pressure in your work as well, with no clear roadmap. So, what did these experiences teach you of about staying grounded under pressure? Why I ask this question, sir? Many a times when we go abroad, our plan fails. our visa get delayed, our startup fails, our job doesn't work. The study abroad program with which I had a lot of hopes, it didn't give me the outcome that was expected. So, if I have to ask you, sir, what would be that, if I may call it the Mulay mantra, to stay resilient without becoming bitter about the experience of any failure or anything that may have happened?
I think essentially, when you are in a particular phase of crisis, you start thinking about way so and so is bad, or sometimes people may think my luck is bad, and so and so person I trusted so much, and he has really not lived to that up to that trust. So I think that approach is not really very correct. Just as I'm interested in my preserving my own interest or my own country's interest, somebody else is actually interested in protecting his or her own interest.
Right.
So, in a situation, like Maldives is a small country, but neighbors could be very difficult. And I'm not talking about neighbors in the sense of neighbors who are beyond the national borders. I'm talking even ordinary neighbors are very difficult.
Right.
So good neighborly relations do not come easily.
Right.
You have to, build over a period of time, and still you can be betrayed.
Right.
So this is what I learned in Maldives, for example. I said, ki, it's not one time bad or good experience.
Mhm.
It is building the tremendous goodwill that the Maldivian people have for India is not reflected in one or two bad experiences. 1988, we saved them. The president was saved from assassination, and we restored. Our forces went there. US could not go, but India could go and rescue the president, and it could catch the mercenaries and hand them over to the locals. Brought peace to that country. India helped them to transit to democracy in 2008. There was a water crisis subsequently. India again went there to help. So there were floods, the tsunami, any crisis, India has gone to help them out. So among the people, there is a huge, appreciation, understanding, and a sense of gratitude also towards it. Now, if there is an incident where some people say India out or this or that, and that culminates into some kind of people's movement, and that affects the local government in place, which was or is friendly to us, we have to examine very clearly where it went wrong. And then many such incidents have taught me one thing, that you have to stay grounded. You have to stay grounded, and sometimes you have to lie low and wait for the opportunity. That patience is very important. Resilience is also a name of patience. I think. And then never give up trying to understand what are the things behind what I see. Often it is not what is visible to you. I in Maldives, as I said, I saw transition from centrally controlled governance to democracy. I saw general elections. I have seen the coup there. I have seen new president or a former president coming and taking shelter in the Indian High Commission. So in one spell of 3, 4 years, I learned many lessons for myself.
Right.
And then when I now look back, well, I think it happened. It had to happen. That time I was under tremendous pressure, and so that keeping your cool, being patient, studying the situation, and try to analyze it without being considering yourself either a victim or a victor. That's very important.
So, moving from here, from you have been to many places, um, and what would be the number of counts, sir, if I may ask, in terms of the countries you would have?
Maybe 70, 80 countries, maybe.
You would have,
Yeah.
lovely. And sir, usually when we go to a new country, a guidebook would tell us go to the Tokyo Tower, the Statue of Liberty, the Burj Khalifa, and so on and so forth, right? These are the what we call the postcard moments,
Correct.
as we call them. But sir, in this journey across the 60, 70 countries you have been to, where did you find the real soul of the place? And if I have to ask you a tip for our Indian travelers or maybe the global travelers, how to find the soul of the place beyond the tourist map, beyond the guidebook? And where did you actually find that?
Well, I think earning the trust of locals and being able to visit somebody's house
Mhm.
is the ultimate experience in knowing the country and the people, both. Very few people try this, you know. So therefore, if you can't try this, a visitor can always try and do the bed and breakfast experience, homestay experience. I think that is where you have some glimpse of the real place, real country, how it is there and how they treat people and how they treat each other. What are the kind of social, cultural norms which are subtle in that place? What are the uh, for example, let me tell you that many Indian people take all the ingredients for cooking abroad,
Right.
and in certain countries it will be just looked down upon
Mhm.
because of the smell of the spices, because of the kind of oil that is used, the dirt that we might leave
Mhm.
in the place. So I have heard complaints about this. People, even the simple water heater that is kept to boil water, or tea or coffee. People use it in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Indian people. So this is a simple thing that you cannot really do certain things.
Mhm. Mhm.
But unless you enter the soul, as you rightly said the word, it's very important to be able to touch people's lives to understand. And this is you can do over a period of time by developing friendships with a few, maybe, because you cannot develop many friendships in a short period of 2 or 3, 4 years, or maybe whirlwind tour you are having from one country to another. Therefore, I think hotel experience is standard all over the world. Okay, so there's not much to learn anymore
Mhm.
after your first few stays in hotels. So, what is beyond that? Beyond that is then, of course, everybody talks about talking to the taxi driver.
Mhm.
Everybody, but that is only one aspect. But you go to a restaurant, you can chat with the waiter, for example, and you learn a whole history if you get to see a Syrian immigrant in Europe. You will actually talking to him for 15 minutes will be something like reading a book
Mhm.
of the person's life and how that local country, host country, is treating the immigrant. It can be an interesting lesson in international relations. So this is what I'm saying. Touching the soul doesn't really necessarily comes from five-star experience or a
Absolutely.
conducted tour.
Right.
कंडक्टेड टूर में कहीं आपको ग्रेवयार्ड भी दिखाएंगे, कहीं राजा का मॉन्यूमेंट भी दिखाएंगे, बाद में आप कौन से देश में क्या देखा था ये भी भूल जाएंगे.
Absolutely.
But you have somebody, say a local friend of yours from the past years, is there and he explains to you. You will never forget that
Absolutely.
tour because he will tell you things, and you will also confidently ask him embarrassing questions or questions that you might normally not avoid ask a guide.
So, sir, let's navigate to a new topic.
Sure.
You have shared very authentic experiences so far, and Now I'm going to come to a little bit more personal habit of yours.
Uh,
So you have navigated the world as a vegetarian.
uh,
From Tokyo, where the cuisine is more seafood centric, to New York's steak culture, to diplomatic dinners, where it is very difficult to control the what is there in the menu and it's not usually in our control. Some people find it as a constraint, but but my understanding is you have decoded uh, this limitation of culture can still become an engaging factor. So, sir, has being vegetarian actually been a conversation starter for you, tool which has led to a deep cultural exchanges?
and definitely, I think food and discussions on food have an important place in the foreign service.
Mm-hmm.
As a diplomat, traditionally they used to say that what is your job? Only dining, whining, and maybe dancing. So dining is very very important part, but to some extent whining also. But that is disappearing all over the world. We saw that the trend of alcohol drinking, having alcohol is declining
Mm-hmm.
all over the world. Maybe certain countries are known for beer drinking, and certain countries are known for having whiskey or vodka. But overall, I think we felt that food again is always a matter of interesting discussion. Like starting from the definition of what is vegetarian. When in certain countries, when you say I'm a vegetarian, they think that you don't even drink milk because it comes from an animal.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yes,
very
yes, yes,
interesting.
yes. And then when you say that you're vegetarian, they also say that means I hope you're eating fish or you eat eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Because in many countries, like in our coastal areas in India,
Absolutely, it is considered vegetarian.
there are certain castes which are supposed to be generally known to be vegetarians. They eat meat and fish, particularly in coastal areas.
Absolutely.
So these again are stereotypes and definitions really vary. But I did have a lot of trouble initially in Japan about food, and I must say that one thing Japanese which I really did not relish while I was there was food. And also over a period of time I changed to a slightly compromised vegetarian
Mm-hmm.
because I realized my wife, who comes from a meat eating family, well, they're not non vegetarian strong, but they have a regular chicken and obviously sometimes fish, and she doesn't mind eating any thing. But I don't think we ever served, even in non-veg country, non-vegetarian countries by and large, which were most of these countries. We never served pork or beef or because what we generally serve what is being cooked in our kitchen. And Indian food is loved by people, absolutely loved because the kind of variety, diversity of dishes that we have from north to south and east to west is absolutely fast. That's why I think in London they say chicken tikka is the national dish. Yeah, in and around New York, we had about more than 200 Indian restaurants. Japan, which is otherwise not very known for Indian food, has lots of Indian restaurants. They call it curry shop.
Yes.
Yeah, the elder brother of Subhash Chandra Bose,
Right.
Ras Bihari Bose, he taught Japan
Create curries.
how to create and how to enjoy curries. So curry rice is one of the national dishes of Japan. What I'm trying to say is, food is always a great conversation, and the difference. If you ask me what is the difference between Japan and Japanese and Indian food, I would say that the Japanese value the original taste of a thing.
Mhm.
So their cooking doesn't have much oil, certainly they don't have spices, and they don't have too much of processing the way we know. हमारे यहाँ तो so many things happen to a thing that people ask, what is this particular vegetable?
Absolutely.
So you have to tell me this is okra or this is gawar ki phali or whatever it is. We have to explain because it changes so much when it undergoes
The
the
process.
processes and the spices in the kitchen that you can't often make so to say.
So on that note,
Uh,
your choice of eating certain food or not eating a certain food, did it really open any interesting doors or conversations for you
yeah,
which you remember because of the food, specifically
yeah,
on the dinner table as you rightly mentioned?
yeah. I think being vegetarian always posed a challenge to our guests, hosts,
Mm-hmm.
particularly Japanese hosts, and when we went to particularly when we went to their homes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it did pose challenge to them because many of these people simply don't understand what is to be served because they think of food in the context of some kind of meat.
Yep.
But then if we explain salad is okay to us,
Right.
we can eat bread,
Right.
we can eat rice, we can also eat bread, we can eat yogurt. Once you start explaining them, they say, okay, okay, okay. So we can still manage something out of
Right.
all this. Otherwise, it's a challenge to the host, and one feels very bad sometimes that not informed them well.
Right.
And initially, I did have problems where I could not eat any food
Mm-hmm.
when I went to some friends'
Right.
houses, and I used to sort of then take some leaf here and there and keep on eating, or pick up a piece of bread and apply whatever sauce or something is available and be satisfied with that.
Right.
But later on, it changed, and now I think the world understands the concept of vegetarianism so well that in the last 20-25 years things have really, really changed.
Mm-hmm.
Internet has also been great equalizer and democratic, democratizing a factor, in so many ways.
Right. Right. So we started this conversation with your book, Mati, Punk, Ani Akash.
Yes.
The earth, Mati, the soil of your village, Arag where you were born. The wings, as you said, is all about mm, the, the kind of the possibilities which are there, which can be achieved. And Akash, obviously, the discovery of unknown which was there. Sir, after being to so many places, building homes in so many countries, and serving India from almost every continent present here, right? Living the cultures of different countries than that you were born into. How do you define home now? Is it still Arar, the village, where you left, which you left at the age of 10? Or home has become for you that you carry something within you now and is not anymore a GPS coordinate?
I think you're right. Uh, Home is a very dynamic entity within, and over a period of time, I developed this concept that wherever you can call God or circumstances or your posting facilitates your food, where you breathe the air, the earth on which you walk, and you stay there. That becomes your home from the day one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, I don't think I learned it immediately, but over a period of time, I got to this definition. So, I never fought really hard that I want to go to France or I have to go to China or this place, that place. And whatever was generally allotted by the ministry. Otherwise, people are very, very sensitive about where they're posted by the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to go here, why did you post me there? That kind of grievances are very common. But I realized that ultimately this is one earth, one family, and one future. That was our, I think, G20 slogan also. But it is a parallel to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So, in a way, I call journey as my home.
Mm-hmm.
Journey as my home.
Wow.
And there is a very beautiful couplet in Marathi. The poetess said that जहाँ भी मतलब when I'll tell it in English, not the original one. Says wherever I go, I only see my brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So I have more or less experienced that. When our second line of the same poem is that I see the signs of my home wherever I go.
Wow.
You know, so when I see a Buddhist temple in Japan, well, it's my India for me.
Mm, mm.
When I go to see the what is that Akshardham temple in near New York, that's my home. When I eat Indian food somewhere, that's my home. So I don't have this narrow definition, but it's also fascinating that I keep my roots intact, go to my district, my village every month, even now while I'm in Delhi. So it's truly initially journey of Bharti, Pank and Akash. Now it is back to the basics.
Very nice.
That's how the loop has to be complete. There's nothing unattended, in this journey. And it's truly one is a gypsy of sorts. Gypsy का कोई घर नहीं होता, जहाँ जाता है तंबू लगा के वो फिर वहीं से वही as long as the tent is there, that is his or her home.
So that is beautiful, and it is exactly the kind of wisdom that someone needs to hear before they board the plane. This has been an extraordinary conversation. But before we close, I have one final question, and this one is about the P Cube's future. This conversation, sir, will launch P Cube, People, Perspective, and Places. Starting from our next episode, I will have the honor of you being my co-host. You will be speaking with ambassadors, diplomats, and dignitaries from across the world, leaders who are shaping the global story. But today, sir, you have set the foundation for everything that follows. So here's my final question. If you had to write one sentence manifesto to every young Indian embarking on their global journey, whether they are students heading to universities abroad, professionals taking jobs in Dubai or Germany, entrepreneurs launching startups in Singapore, or dreamers who are just still figuring it out, one sentence that captures everything you have learned in 35 years of living globally while serving India, what would that be?
I think living globally or being in global places gives you an opportunity to live many lives in one life. Oh, that would be my,
That's our quote, sir, for the for this
yes.
for this session. That will be quote.
Absolutely. In one life, one needs to live many lives, and that I think summarizes both my journey, my experience, and the essence of what I have understood of life. One should need not be really, um, what should I say? We need not have superiority complex, but you also need not have inferiority complex. Whatever you represent, you are unique in the 7 billion people. There is no one like you. That gives you an edge over everybody else. You should be able to capture that uniqueness and enrich the world. I think that is what makes you truly a global citizen.
Dr. Mulay, thank you. Thank you for your 35 years of service. Thank you for making passport accessible to millions. Thank you for your poetry, your books, your wisdom. Thank you for agreeing to be part of the journey we built together with PQ. This is just the beginning.
I look forward to that, Sudhanshu. Together, we will maybe charting a very, very unique and new territory. Thank you. Thank you for.
And to everyone watching, this is PQ, People, Perspective, Places. Thank you.